live news conference from outer space. We're going to take you there right now as they speak out about what it's been like, what they've been going through over the last many months, and just how anxious they are to get home to Earth. Let's go there now.
Question. That's part of life. We are on board with it. We support our nation leaders, and we're thankful for them.
Our next question comes from Emily with NBC News.
Hey there, thanks for taking my question. Butch and Sunny, your resilience and positivity really has shined through, but what has been the most challenging aspect about the changing timeline in space? And on the flip side, what will you miss most about space?
Hey, thanks, Emily, for that question, because immediately it brings to mind family and all the people on the ground who support us. So, you know, it's been a roller coaster for them, probably a little bit more so than for us. You know, we're here, we have a mission, we're just doing what we do every day, and, you know, every day is interesting because we're up in space and it's a lot of fun. So I think the hardest part is, you know, having the folks on the ground have to not know exactly when we're coming back. Know, of course, that we are coming back with Crew 9, but, you know, all of that uncertainty, I think, is probably the most difficult part. And, you know, it takes a little time just to have that conversation with them on a daily basis and say, hey, we're coming back before long, so, you know, don't make all those plans without me. You know, we'll be back before too long. And I think, you know, what are you going to miss about space? Everything about space. You know, this has been Butch and my third flight to the International Space Station. We helped put it together. We've been up here seeing it change throughout all these years, do a lot of science up here. I think just the fact that we're living up here in this very unique place gives you an amazing perspective, not only, you know, out the window, obviously, but also just on how to solve problems, use that spark of inspiration and that perspective when I leave, so I'm going to have to bottle it somehow.
Our next question is from Mark Strassman with CBS News.
Hey everyone, good to see all of you. Talk to all of you. Look forward to being back at home. I've got two questions. First one is for Nick and Sunny. Through no fault or wish of your own, this mission became political, also political back in the U.S., is this drive to downsize government, federal agencies, including NASA. Are you all at all concerned, try that again, are you at all concerned that your NASA teammates could be distracted by that push to downsize? And then, Butch, you get the easier one. We're all the product of our life experiences, and this extended business trip of yours certainly qualifies. What is your life lesson or takeaway from these 9 months in space?
So, Mark, I guess I'm going to start with the hard question as you defined it. You know, I appear a little bit insulated from a lot of what's going on down on the ground, but one thing we're not insulated from is how the operational team is functioning. And so on a daily basis, on a you know, minute-by-minute basis, we're in contact with the ground. That team is supporting us, and it's not just in Houston, it's the entire NASA and you know, international apparatus that's supporting us. And that support from the first day that I showed up here to today has been unwavering, and we're firing on all cylinders.
Well, in answer to your question, I can tell you honestly, my feeling on all of this goes back to my faith. It's bound in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He is working out His plan and His purposes for His glory throughout all of humanity, and how that plays into our lives is significant and important. And however that plays out, and I am content because I understand that. I understand that He's at work in all things. Some things are for the good. Go to Hebrews chapter 11. Some things look to us to be not so good, but it's all working out for His good for those that will believe. And that's the answer. So thanks for asking.
Our next question is from Gina Sinceri with ABC News.
This question is for Sunny. Sunny, I was talking to some kids who were talking about Gorby's tattoos, And they want to know what dogs you have now, and have they missed you, and how much are you looking forward to seeing them when you come home?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, it's probably hardest, getting back to the other question, for my dogs, although thank God they don't really know time that well. But yes, I have two Labrador Retrievers right now, Gunner and Rotor, who have been having boy time with my husband, and I think they'll be very happy for Mom to come home. So I'm excited to see my labs when I get back. And yes, these were Gorby's footprints.
Our next question is from Lauren Grush with Bloomberg.
Hi, good to talk to you. This is for Butch and Sunny. Following up on the topic of politics, part of the discussion has been a claim that the decisions surrounding the timing of your return were influenced by politics, and that there was an option earlier. I'm just wondering if you feel like politics influenced the decision, and would you have wanted to come home earlier?
From my standpoint, politics is not playing into this at all. From our standpoint, I think that they would agree. We came up prepared to stay long, even though we planned to stay short. That's what we do in human spaceflight. That's what your nation's human spaceflight program is all about, planning for unknown, unexpected contingencies. We did that. And that's why we flowed, as Nick said, right into Crew 9, into Expedition 72, as we did. And it was somewhat of a seamless transition because we had planned ahead for it and we were prepared.
If I can add, when I launched in late September, our planned return date was the end of February. And given the amount of training that's required to get a crew ready and the complexities associated with getting a spacecraft ready to launch and operate in space, targeting a March return is pretty much on target.
Our next question is from Eric Berger with Ars Technica.
Hi, thanks very much. How is the condition of the International Space Station? How do you find it? There was a suggestion by Elon Musk that it could be deorbited earlier. Just wondering if you think the structural facility can hold up till 2030, and is there 6 years of meaningful research to be done during that time? Thank you.
Hey, Eric, great question. We've been up here since sort of the beginning. Like I mentioned before, Butch and I had been part of the construction of the space station with the shuttle flights. So yeah, we've seen it grow from just a couple modules to this amazing laboratory that it is right now. And I actually was extremely impressed coming up here and seeing how much science is going on, particularly when we have the resupply missions that bring up a lot of science. I mean, this place is ticking. It's just really amazing. So I would say we're actually in our prime right now. We've got all the power, all of the facilities up and operating. So I would think that right now is probably not the right time to say call it quits. We have probably till 2030 in our agreements, and I think that's probably really accurate because we should make the most of this space station for our taxpayers, all of our international partners, and hold our obligations and do that world-class science that this laboratory is capable of.
Our next question comes from Katrina Miller with New York Times.
Hi there. Thanks for taking my question. On Sunday, NASA Administrator Janet Petro said that dominating space is a way to keep America first. And so I'm curious, as astronauts on the International Space Station, working closely with partner countries, how you feel about that type of rhetoric as opposed to space exploration as a benefit for all of humanity. Thanks.
Clearly, the International Space Station serves as an example of how you can work together on an international stage and accomplish something greater than any one country can accomplish on their own, regardless of how much that individual country is contributing. And so as we go forward, that's a lesson that I take from this is just the strength that you can achieve in that level of international cooperation. And endure a lot of things that we're able to fly above while we're in orbit, and continue to just operate on a daily basis, doing good things, for humanity.
Our next question is from Mark Carreau with Aviation Week.
Thank you. I'd like to ask each of you what you believe your mission time on this mission is contributing to the overall objectives of having people in space all the time in orbit.
Hey, Mark. Yeah, great question. So, I mean, as it started with Butch and I mean, it's just getting new spacecraft, new technologies tested out, right? So that's how it started for us. And of course, for SpaceX Dragon as well, new technologies coming up to the International Space Station. The space station doesn't only, have docking ports. It also has technical demos, for future of exploration for other spacecraft. It has different types of science experiments that are helping us to figure out how we're going to go further in space, as well as helping a lot of people back on Earth understanding new technologies. So, I mean, this space station, our contribution is being part of all of that science, from the rocket technology, the spacecraft technology, to the pharmaceutical, to the biology, to everything that's associated with living and working in space. It's a whole different perspective, a whole different way of thinking, and in my mind, it makes us think outside the box. And so that's why what I think our contribution is just being part of that, furthering that exploration.
Yes, just another great answer.
Yeah.
I've sort of learned to love them both Butch and Sonny up there in space, because talk about putting the best face possible
Right.
on a, frankly, seems like kind of a bad situation. It would be cool to go up into space for a day or two or three.
Or maybe, but how about more than a year, Ron?
You're right. I mean, they're closing in on it. They don't know yet when they're coming home, but we believe it'll be somewhere after March 12th. People have been chatting about it, though.
Yes, they have. And I threw this out there in the chat box. Thank you to everyone who's been sharing with us. I said, would you ever travel to space? Whether or not it was for a day or 2 weeks. And Kim Winnett says, never. It makes me cringe just thinking about it. Yikes. Linda says, nope, no space time for me. And KDJW5 said, good question. Since I never travel on an airplane, I couldn't travel into space.
And who was it that said, I don't even like traveling to Walmart?
Sherry, Nevada Pup. For me, nope, I don't even like to travel to Walmart, LOL. And then a bunch of people chimed in and they said,
And we are back with the mystery cam. This could be anywhere from Flagstaff or Winslow all the way across half of America, all the way out to like Illinois and Ohio.
So real quick, Ron, I got to mention, folks in the chat didn't see it before the break.
Okay.
So we want to throw it out there. I know you guys maybe got caught there with the break, but here is your mystery cam. And this is, it looks pretty wet out there. Almost like it's like a drizzle, like snow rain mix, but pretty
Yeah,
gloomy.
no kidding.
What do you think see that building there?
Yes.
What do you think that is?
I'm pretty sure it's a haunted mansion, Celeste. Doesn't every older town need a haunted mansion?
I was thinking of a haunted courthouse where maybe they had some crazy criminal back in the 1750s.
Did you ever drive down to Florence and see their super cool old courthouse? I've wondered many times if it was haunted.
I know. I don't think I've seen that one
Yeah,
yet.
I took my dad down there for a drive one time, and we were trying to figure it out. So Brandon said Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody else who wants to guess, you are more than welcome.
KDJW5 and a bunch of other people are chiming in on this as well, Ron, about the mystery cam. But also, kind of as we're giving you just a quick 30 seconds maybe to chime in on the mystery cam, a lot of people got stuck on the grocery pickup and going to Walmart with Sherry Nevada Pup. And so there's a lot of chatter in the chat box this morning on that. We have a New Hampshire from Louis Gonzalez, Lisa Dinsmore, Tennessee, Tallahassee, she said maybe, LOL. Jens Wall says Indiana. KTJW5 said he's going to go with Indiana as well.
I like Indiana, unless you were going to take it.
No, you go with Indiana.
Okay, what are you doing?
I'm going to go with, what's underneath Minnesota?
Underneath Minnesota? Just earth, and then if you keep digging.
We have a special guest here who's cracking up off cam.
So it's a kind of a, it's a farmable dirt. And if you keep digging, you get to China.
What's below? I'm trying to think. I need to
Do you mean
study
what's south?
Yeah, what's south? I need to study
Iowa.
Thank you. I'm going to go Iowa.
Okay.
I need to study with the geography bee. Don't judge people.
No, don't judge.
There's lots of strengths I have. Geography is not one of them.
Sometimes it's like pulling teeth just to get an answer out of Celeste. All right, let's see what the answer is for the mystery cam. Is it somewhere below Minnesota? Or is it not Wisconsin, Indiana?
Missouri.
Oh, Kirksville. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
Okay.
Maybe it was like Lord Kirksville who lived in that haunted mansion.
Truman State University is a real thing there. So one of the big topics today is the fact that last night the president decided to pause all military aid to Ukraine to try to get them to seriously get to the peace and negotiating table. And then we actually heard this morning from Volodymyr Zelensky trying to mend fences. He went onto a post on X, seems to be where everybody goes, and he called the spat between him and the president regrettable. It says it's time to make things right. He's ready to sign the deal. But I don't think just putting a post out there on X is going to cut it. It's going to have to be some high-level discussions. Here's a little bit more in terms of what the president was thinking.
You're going to have to make a deal with Russia, and you're going to have to make a deal with Ukraine. You're going to have the assent, and you're going to have the consent from the European nations, because I think that's important, and from us. I think everybody has to get into a room, so to speak, and we have to make a deal.
Okay, so this, by the way, was the leaders' meeting, a coalition of the willing, they called it, but I'm very skeptical, Celeste, that the British people or the French people would be willing to put boots on the ground, their own soldiers, into Ukraine as some sort of a peacekeeping deal. But I know that's part of what they've been talking about. So we'll keep an eye on it. Ukraine also did announce, they said, if this is legit and the U.S. is going to cut off aid for the time being, that they will run out of some of the crucial missiles that they have been using to fight Russian advances by the month of May. It brings us to our poll question, which, wow. It's interesting because yesterday our pizza poll question got a big response too.
Huge.
But here we are already over 300 votes, and here are your options. Do you agree with the president's handling of Ukraine? 65% say, yep, the U.S. needs to quit spending billions on that war. 9% yes, but a plan to stop Russia from invading again is necessary. 17% say no, you know what? I don't agree. I think the blow-up in the Oval Office was his fault. And 9% say no, haven't we learned that Putin can't be trusted? So we always try to give you, multiple options in terms of what you're thinking on the poll.
I think it's interesting because when you look at what the White House is hoping to do with this, Ukraine and Russian war, he always talks about let's make a deal, let's make a compromise.
Okay.
He wrote the book, The Art of the Deal. So you have to think about it. Always goes back to maybe the business part of who Trump was or is, or how he's maneuvered the business world.
Yep.
And so that's what they're trying to do.
Celeste, I have one more question for you. And then, by the way, everybody stay tuned. We have a special guest. But this is so interesting. A poll from Hyundai,
Okay.
which they try to sell cars.
And they have a pretty nice vehicle, Ron.
A lot of them are very nice. They polled people, what's the worst commute in the Valley?
Okay.
It seems like an anti-car kind of question from a car company. But the I-17 from the Stack to Northern Avenue going home in the afternoons is the one that, number one, makes people question their decision-making and what about their life decisions.
Well, it sounds sad. We were thinking maybe they should add some artwork to the freeway.
Yes.
To the big concrete walls, and it would bring them a moment of enlightenment.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is the concrete walls.
Yeah.
So Celeste already has a plan.
Well, it makes them feel like they're in prison.
If we could have one ADOT representative designated to watch our streaming show every day.
I have an idea.
What's that?
ADOT, if you're listening.
Yes.
You know those great creative like slogans they put on the electronic boards?
Yeah.
And some of them are very inspirational.
Correct.
What if they put those on the concrete walls so as you're driving, you are inspired to live a better life?
Or what if they use those to just sort of quote some of what we have to tell them in terms of advice here on Fox 10 Talks?
That could be good too.
By the way, number 2 was I-10 to the West Valley. I thought they were going to probably be number 1. Do you have a spot in the Valley that you think is the very worst commuting-wise?
The very worst. I would say the tunnel.
Oh, driving through the tunnel.
Driving
it's
to the
always
tunnel in
backed up.
downtown
Can
Phoenix.
we turn the lights up? Okay, ADOT, here's how you put it on a sign. Ron says, turn up the lights in the tunnel.
Right.
What's so hard about that?
Ron says, we'll keep the lights on for you.
Yeah, there you go.
What commercial is that for, Ron?
Motel 6.
You.
Thank you, Tom Bodette. Mine, by the way, would be where the 24 freeway way out in the East Valley around the Mesa Gateway Airport transitions onto the 202. You have 2 lanes from Queen Creek. I call it the Queen Creek insult intersection.
Okay.
They're insulting the people of Queen Creek every day because you have 2 lanes there, 2 from Eastmark, 2 from the actual 24, not Ellsworth. 6 lanes squeezed down to 1.
And it's like a 4-mile stretch of backup. I've seen that thing on a Saturday.
Oh, it's just unbelievable. All right, so here we go. Who is our surprise guest? Well, if you're a regular here on the program, you know it's Robert Steve, Arizona Highways.
Hello.
Good morning.
I'm going to pop up your microphone right here.
He thinks we're funny, Ron.
You guys are funny, man. This is good entertainment. But I do have a suggestion about those walls. We could cover them with photos from Arizona Highway.
Oh, my
Great
gosh.
idea.
Murals.
Yes, murals.
100 feet long murals.
Yeah, although people could get distracted.
They will be.
But maybe not a good way.
I don't know.
They might be like staring over at the side and then kunk.
Right.
What if it's inspiration? Like, I need to go see Monument Valley, or I need to go see Oregon, Pipe National Forest. Or
right. Then they get off the freeways and go somewhere else and lighten the traffic.
Yes.
It's a win-win all the way around.
Or else they could put up signage that says, don't look over this way. These are the murals, but don't look.
Keep
it's
the
a safety
blinders
issue.
on.
Well, sometimes we have great ideas here on the stream, and other times we just
I think
work
you're on a
them
roll
out.
today.
Thank you, buddy. Okay, we are going to jump right into it. I'm telling you, Arizona Highways this month. When I first moved here, I remember talking to a producer, and he's like, I got to get somebody down to Picacho Peak because they're just famous around the state park, around the base of the mountain for their wildflowers. But walk us through where some of the best locations are. Where's this?
This one's out east of here. So if you're heading towards Superior and Globe, or you're headed out toward Boyce Thompson, Arboreta, that direction, a beautiful scenic drive. And, depending on, how much rain we've gotten, which hasn't been much, you're going to see some beautiful wildflowers. So these are lupins with a few, looks like a few gold poppies sprinkled in there.
I'm actually willing. I thought about this the other day when I was driving up to go skiing up there at Sunrise, because I go that route through Globe.
Oh, nice.
And I said to myself, people are going to start, there are going to be some new homes going into Superior because it's not that far away. I think people don't, especially if you're in Mesa, people don't realize it's only about 30, 35 minutes away.
Yeah, it's a close drive. It's a little bit higher elevation,
Yes,
so it's a
it
little bit
is.
cooler as you go east.
You got those mountains right up above
Rugged
those
mountains.
rugged
Yeah, so
cliffs.
pretty. It almost looks like Sound of Music. You see Julie Andrews running through there and rolling through the hills.
Robert, you know what that is? That's an invitation for us to ask Syleste to sing like
Oh.
she's Julie Andrews. But don't fall for it.
Joe,
Here's
a
the
dear.
Tempting.
Now, where are we in these?
Here we are. I think this was down in the Catalinas, perhaps. This is, another beautiful part of the state. And for those of you, joining us today, you can kind of go in any direction, and you're going to see wildflowers. So if you're here in the valley, you can, head up toward Bartlett Lake or head out to the Superstition Mountains. If you're down in Tucson, the Catalinas get a lot of beautiful flowers.
Yeah, all right, for sure. So we've got those, but we got a bunch more to share with everybody as well. Let's see where this one is.
This one, I do not know. It's in Arizona, and there are saguaros. So it's
And
in the
water, and
it's
there's
in the
water.
central desert. So this could be. I
Uh-huh.
think this is on the Tonto.
Oh,
Out up by
Forest?
Tonto National
Out by Roosevelt
Monument.
Lake. Okay.
Yeah, out by Roosevelt Lake.
Yeah, never been there.
And what you're seeing, as you look at this, is multiple flower species, right? So
Yeah.
when you're out there, and Syleste and I talked about this earlier, I mean, you can stand in one spot and count maybe a dozen different wildflowers.
Well, we only have about a minute and a half left, so let's get to all the rest here. This, I think, is my favorite one, and you're thinking it might be in the Kofa, Kofa Mountains.
This is out in the Kofa Mountains, which is a great place to visit, whether there's flowers or not. These are brittle bush, which are a very hardy species, and regardless of how much rain we get, these guys always seem to come around. But you can see the Ocotillo there as well, and some choyas.
Perfect.
But the mountains are super rugged out there.
Yeah,
It's
no
the
kidding.
it's the only place where there are native palm trees growing in Arizona. So if you hike back in there into the Kofas, there's actually some palm trees that are native.
I would love to do some hiking up in there. All right, let's squeeze in the last one or two here. Where's this? Sedona,
This is
right?
up by Bear Mountain, which is one of my favorite trails up in the Sedona area. And always at the front of that mountain range, you get these beautiful lupins and owl's clover that come out in the springtime.
And let's leave our
beautiful.
audience here with this last one.
This is
beautiful.
down in Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument on your way to Rocky Point. If you're somebody that heads that direction, more gold poppies and lupins and the Organ Pipe cactus, very different from the saguaro.